Hey everybody, welcome back to the LuckyDog podcast. This is your host, Elias Roush. This podcast is sponsored by EliasRoushMedia.com, photo, video, digital media production. Today we are discussing the 2016 Batman v Superman Ultimate Edition. It is basically the same movie as Batman v Superman Dawn of Justice, with the exception of about 30 more minutes added in addition to it, which make it a total of about 3 hours and 2 minutes, including credits and everything. So I was like, looking in the news, I was curious about the Justice League released the Zack Snyder cut hashtag. I've been following it since it's been going on. Most people know Justice League was taken over by Joss Whedon, and so there is kind of a split mind of how that movie was created. HBO Max is giving Zack Snyder 30 million to 50 million or something more dollars to add in addition to that Justice League movie, and they're going to re-release that movie with his cut, quote unquote his cut. And so I went ahead and watched the Justice League last week, and so I guess I'm just kind of going backwards in the chronology of the DC Universe movies that I have not covered on my podcast. I've already seen Aquaman a long time ago, and what else did I see? I've seen Wonder Woman as well, but I've seen all of these movies, to be honest, but I have not covered all of them, so I'm kind of going back and doing kind of like a regurgitation of the DC Universe. And so I wanted to cover Batman v Superman Dawn of Justice. I have heard rumblings that this movie was better than the actual original BVS Dawn of Justice. So from what I can remember, BVS, the original 2016 movie, it was pretty rough. If anyone remembers seeing that, it was just like a big cluster. By the way, this is not for kids, this review. So let me get a quick swig of coffee. I'm waking up this morning. Excuse me. Okay, so Batman v Superman Dawn of Justice is a 2016 American superhero film featuring the DC comic characters Batman and Superman. It is a direct sequel to the 2013's Man of Steel and the second installment in the DC Extended Universe. Now, everyone that is following the DC Extended Universe and Marvel as well, there's tons of comparisons when it comes down to the formation of the team, the formation of the brands, that kind of thing. The film is directed by Zack Snyder, written by Chris Terrio and David S. Goyer. Goyer has been on a lot of comic book properties, including I think he was involved in the Christopher Nolan Batmans as well. It features an ensemble cast that includes Ben Affleck, Henry Cavill, Amy Adams, Jesse Eisenberg, Diane Lane, Lawrence Fishburne, Jeremy Irons, Holly Hunter, and Gal Gadot. BVS is the first live-action film to feature Batman and Superman together, as well as the first live-action cinematic portrayal of Wonder Woman. In the film, criminal mastermind Lex Luthor manipulates Batman into a preemptive battle with Superman, whom Luthor is obsessed with. So, yeah, it's jam-packed. We've got a lot of people that are responsible for some of our favorite, we got some of the best music with, what do we have? Hans Zimmer, and I don't remember what Junkie XL is responsible for, but I think he's more of an electronic guy. He was featured in Man of Steel, Mad Max Fury Road. I'm seeing Deadpool, The Dark Tower, that type of stuff. Terminator, Dark Fate, Sonic Hedgehog. And he's going to be also on credited on Zack Snyder's Justice League as well. I guess that's what they're going to call the Snyder Cut, is the Zack Snyder Justice League. But we also have the cinematographer, Larry Fong. I'm just kind of going through this technical stuff real quick before we jump into it. Larry Fong, cinematographer for a lot of Zack Snyder's films, including 300, Watchmen, Sucker Punch. I've seen all of those except Sucker Punch, and I've heard the Sucker Punch is exceptionally bad. But um, we're not we're not here to talk about that. And I'm not here to criticize Zack Snyder as a director. This is all strictly about this specific movie. So when anything I'm saying about that, I don't want to feel like I'm criticizing this guy as like is this guy is a horrible guy. It's no, it's not a horrible guy. There might be a few scenes I don't like or a few things I don't like. It's just a movie, but just take it easy. I'm not criticizing him and his company or whatever like that. I have a lot of respect for Zack Snyder as a matter of fact. The Zack Snyder wheelhouse of what is he? Dawn of the Dead, 300, Watchmen. He has a very interesting aesthetic, and I think he can direct action decently. And I think the action's not bad in this. The problem with this was this budget is 250 to 300 million and only grossed 873 million, which is not nearly enough what you need. I mean, it's like the bare minimum you need to have on a movie this big. But I mean, something like, think about the Joker. The Joker grossed, what was it, $1 billion on a $40 million budget. So it's just like rolling the dice like that. That you're gonna have. What I'm saying is, you don't need to spend $300 million in a movie to make $1 billion back. Clearly, now it's not every time you're gonna do that, but spend it wisely. So let me pop the notes out real quick. See if I can't do this relatively quickly. Now, I feel like I wrote a bloody novel for the entire BVS movie. I mean, all 3 hours. Look at this. This is all 3 hours. If you're watching live or watching on the VOD, I literally wrote a novel. So I'm going to try to, go through it fast. Superman fast or whatever. So BVS Ultimate Edition cinematography kicking with Larry Fong. I really like the cinematography. This is not a bad looking movie when it comes down to it. Generally, casting's perfect. I think the casting all really hits on just about all cylinders. Maybe one or two characters aren't your ideal, people that you would like to be certain characters, but I generally don't have a problem with the main characters. Batman, Bruce Wayne, Ben Affleck. Sorry, so many names. Ben Affleck or Henry Cavill as these characters. Music, like I said, Hans Zimmer always kicking it. And Junkie XL, like the electronic style. We also have the direction by Zack Snyder, but what most importantly that I think this movie misses the mark on, specifically in correlation with Man of Steel. I think Man of Steel got a lot of flack for it being for them taking it too seriously. So it's like, what do you expect when you take something too seriously and then double it? You have both superheroes taking it way too seriously. Now, it's not their fault that they're told to, be brooding pretty much for 3 hours. But the writing in this is very. It's not dry, but it's just kind of clear cut, and it feels. It definitely feels like it's all coming from the same person. One thing that, if you think about it, really good writers can do is they can write for each individual character. They can write for the mother, they can write for the main character, they can write for the boss, they can write for the police. They can write for what the government or the public are thinking. They can write individual segments of the perspectives from each of one of these, entities or subjects. And the thing is, I don't feel like Zack Snyder hits on all cylinders when it comes to presenting the individual aspects of these characters. It still feels like it's all coming from one mind. So yes, overall, I think they take themselves a little too seriously. Would have appreciated just a little bit more fun, like they sort of have in Justice League. I think that there's a little bit more of that Josh Whedon, you know, excitement a little bit. The fact that you're having the first time some of the biggest brands that you've owned over the course of the last century put on screen together, I feel like this is an exciting time, and it's this movie alongside Justice League both open up very, drudgingly, melancholy. Um, yeah, casting solid. Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman seems to be having the best time alongside this, alongside Jeremy Irons as Alfred. God, why wasn't he Alfred the whole time? Um, okay, so here we go with the novelization of what I wrote for Batman v Superman. So let me see if I can do this really quickly. This is right. I'm not going to try to go too fast, but I have all my notes laid out. So, hold on, let me get some coffee. Y'all might notice I might start talking faster midway through. That's because the coffee just hit. Once again, we start with Zack Snyder classic slow-mo intro. What is it? The Watchmen and possibly 300. I think all start with some sort of slow-mo intro, even with a backstory and all that stuff coming in. We have Maggie from The Walking Dead and Negan from The Walking Dead. Aren't they both in this, playing Bruce Wayne's parents? And we're talking about spoilers after this, or right now, because we're going to go through the entire movie real quick. But we get the slow-mo intro. People hate that we get the Batman's parents getting blown away every time. It's kind of, is it contrived? Is that what? Not what? It's not contrived. It's trying to manipulate the audience's emotions so that you just instantly feel for him. And so, yes, everyone knows Batman's backstory. Everyone's tired of seeing the same interpretation of it. Martha getting the pearls flying everywhere in slow-mo. Still looks great, and I like kind of how doing the flash back and forth with young Bruce running away from Alfred at the funeral as well. Looks it's a quick cinematic way to show what's going on. And this movie is very comic booky. There's nothing when it comes to the aesthetic of being a comic book. I think this probably hits it on most of the levels. The casting, I think all the casting ideally looks really good. Some of the execution, maybe not as much. So right off the bat, this looks like they actually went to actual locations. My biggest problem with Justice League, which I'll kind of go back and forth in a non-spoilery take, that looks like they are in a green screen room for an hour and a half. It is absolutely garbage when you ask me the cinematography of it. I actually don't think it's the same cinematographer as Justice League, because I think I just looked it up, but let me see real quick. I just find it important that, let me see, cinematographer Fabian Wagner. I don't know, something they did to the aesthetic of Justice League makes Batman v Superman feel so much more grounded. And I felt like from Man of Steel up until, what was it, Justice League, it feels way more grounded until then. Okay, so looks like actual locations, which is something I really wanted to have, or I wanted to see and feel the weight of what's going on. At the beginning, we see the collateral damage of Superman's destruction from Man of Steel. We get it from Batman's perspective. We get Jack, what's going on, Jack? Oh God, Jack! Oh no, my God, Jack! It's like, what the fuck? Can we get Batman to lose someone that we actually care about? Imagine it. Okay, so this might be a little bit of comic book spoiler alert, but it seems as sort of implied as well. I don't remember exactly. Maybe someone's going to be like, actually, in the comment section. You can go ahead and do that, but I may or may not respond. Just hear me out. What if we had lost Robin in the collateral damage of what happened with Superman and Zod. Now that is someone to lose. The problem with the very beginning of, oh God, Jack, oh Jack, get everyone out of the building, Jack. Why are y'all in the building anyway? Y'all see the whole fucking place going down. So at the beginning, I do like the perspective of why Batman is just all of a sudden pissed, or he's upset with the actions of Superman, and it makes sense. He wouldn't be the only one, and he's not the only one. There's definitely reasoning. Flash to 18 months later. The editing in this does feel a little bit choppy. That might be a con and something that I'd noticed. It just feels like, all right, section of the story done, section of the story done, section of the story done, sort of. Intro of Superman feels like it takes a while. Get the informant, camera dude. I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. For some reason, bodies are burned and they walk outside. Oh! The camera informant dude. The intro of Superman is in like this African village of some sort, and they're with Lois Lane, and then something's happening with they're trying to take her hostage to lure to lure Superman there. And once Superman comes there, they're trying to frame Superman to make him look like he's causing extra collateral damage and stuff, like, kind of going off the deep end. Yes, so that's what I was talking about. That's kind of a far-fetched plan. I don't know how burning bodies is automatically like, oh yeah, that's exactly what Superman does. It's like he's killed like one person and had like a ton of collateral damage from Man of Steel, so it's like he's not exactly shown to be a terrible entity yet. I might actually end up going back and doing the Man of Steel review just to kind of solidify my whole feeling about this DC universe. So anyways, they try to frame Superman. Still a very somber opening. Batman is trying to save like this like human trafficking ring of like young Asian women being taken in. Like, well, this is fucking dark for fucking Batman. This is like really fucking dark. I was not ready for all of that. I feel like this could be pretty scary for kids. I remember watching this the first time. I was like, what the fuck? This is like, I mean, him dealing with the mafia is one thing, but like dealing with like some human trafficking shit, like this is a crazy opening. I can't believe they opened like this. Why is Batman acting like this? Like he's like whoosh, 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 whoosh. He's got to get out of there before the cops talk to him. Why? In Christopher Nolan's Batman, he just talks to the cops. What was the deal? Why couldn't I don't understand why we didn't. I think a Commissioner Gordon in this movie could have helped, actually, now that I think about it. If they would have casted J.K. Simmons as Commissioner Gordon earlier, they would have had some communication within the police force, which feels very much needed. There's only the Lawrence Fishburne character who we're trying. He's got like the perspective of like the people, and then there's like some random people to this, but I don't know. I could be wrong. I'm kind of going on tangents. I'll stop that. Okay, so why is Batman acting like that to the police? He could have just talked to them, tell them he's saving these people. He's also branding the villains. Oh, yeah, okay, so to be killed in jail. And the cops are kind of complicit with this. So with the cops being complicit with all this, like, whoa. Yeah, Superman definitely should probably be looking into this. Why aren't more people looking into this? Does everyone that Batman brands ends up getting killed? I think there's one or two solidified people we might see throughout the entire movie get killed, but it's like, that's some deep shit. And so if Batman's not, Batman has a long list, a huge list of a body count on this, so it's like, it's not that great. It does not look that super in the eyes of Superman. Okay, so Super Tub, Super Sex is definitely a memorable scene. That's when Henry Cavill's hopping in the tub with Amy Adams, two very attractive people. Cut probably a little too soon. Let's just, if we're gonna do the Ultimate Edition, might as well get the ultimate stuff. I don't know. I can't be the only one that wanted to see just 30 seconds longer. I don't know. New Batcave is very high tech. Might not age well later. I've noticed that if you go back and look at Batman, his caves and his tech, Christopher Nolan did a really good job about making that Dark Knight one very timeless kind of, by making it very minimalist. I feel like the more tech you have, the more written in that time you're going to be looked at. It's not as like timeless, I guess. I don't know. Could be wrong. He's got the new Bat voice. We don't have that. I don't even think I can do the Bat voice right now. I cannot do Christian voice. That's about all you're gonna get. Alfred calling him on his bat branding shit. Alfred seems to be the only voice of reason during this, and so I just gotta say that probably need a little bit more voice of reason. And he's not even that pushing it that hard. He's just like, all right, you're gonna kill yourself. You're gonna die. This is a bad idea. I wouldn't do it. It's like, let's see. Why is Alfred talking about men turning? Oh yeah, Alfred is talking about power turning men evil and stuff like that at such an early part of this movie. That does become prevalent later, but it's not like, it doesn't feel like what they were talking about had anything to do with that. It's almost like the Jesse Eisenberg line of thinking. And that guy has an entirely something else going on with them in this movie. Okay, and coming to it. My lord, Jesse Eisenberg is almost insufferable as Lex Luthor in this role. If you think about it, watching it from the Social Network 2010 David Fincher's movie, saying this guy's going to be Lex Luthor, I'd say yes. Now that guy playing that character could be Lex Luthor. But Jesse Eisenberg, written by Zack Snyder or whoever it was written by, Chris Terrio, who I don't know what the fuck happened here. Now I'm not a big fan of the Superman Returns, I think it was, movie with Kevin Spacey as Lex Luthor. But at least Kevin Spacey may or may not be a really heinous guy, but he can play the shit out of an evil man, which Jesse Eisenberg definitely could not. Not to that level. And I guess that might just be, coming off of being an actual terrible person. I don't know. There's some really sketchy stuff about Spacey, so I don't really want to go there. But he has a very, in comparison, the portrayal, what it was, Gene Hackman, I think, plays Luthor back in the day. I haven't seen that one in a long time, so it doesn't even make sense, the portrayal that he's playing as Lex Luthor. It's almost like he's like jumpy and like twitchy, and it's almost like he has it. Like I know people that have Tourette's, and he's sort of acting like that, but he's also got like a realm of like, I don't want to be a doctor and say he's definitely got one of these. He's got the disease of this. He's got that. He's got this. He's got that. No, I don't want to say that. I'm just saying this guy feels like he has some social issues that are unexplained in this movie, to the degree that it's like he gets next to no lines, even in this 3-hour movie. And the lines that he does get are terrible, about like gods falling from the sky, and the least relatable lines I've ever seen, heard on the screen. He doesn't sell me on evil. He doesn't sell me on why any of this would make sense. Especially because Superman's powers are selectively OP, and sometimes they're not. Sometimes they work, sometimes they don't. So, yeah. His voice is totally going all over the place, Lex Luthor is, and doesn't really have consistency. It doesn't really sound that he's smart, but he does bring up a point if you want to what if you were to want to have to fight against Superman? What would you use? And so, if you would have had a better, you know, way of selling that idea, I think the government would have been hooked onto it more. Batman might have hooked onto it more. But the way this whole thing is contrived and played out is just terrible. Now, what the fuck is with the Jolly Ranchers? When he's explaining this to like his right hand guy or somebody that he's getting approval to, he's popping Jolly Ranchers in this guy's mouth. Is this one of the many subtle branding, product placement ads that they just happen to stick in here? I actually didn't see as many brands in this movie as I was expecting. I think I had heard there was like over 100 different brands in maybe Man of Steel. I don't remember if that was Batman v Superman or not, but just a ton of product placement because they had to pay for a $300 million movie. So Wally, he was pulled out from the rubble from Bruce at the very beginning when Superman was fighting Zod. Wally is shown spraying the Superman monument. He has some sort of reasoning. He does have a reasoning that he doesn't like Superman because of his leg loss and the trauma. He writes false god. I definitely see that this could definitely happen, especially in the day and age we're living in. Anything feels like it could happen. It feels like Superman's about to fall from the sky at this point. If you're listening to this in the future, or you have no idea about the timing, or I'm currently watching this during the pandemic, kind of towards the end of phase 2 or middle of phase 2, June, July time. He does have a reason to write false god, or he has a reasoning to be traumatized. But I feel like they're not showing the side of Superman that was fighting Zod. Amy Adams, for God's sake, she's a fantastic actress, and I've seen her in Arrival, I've seen her in all these other movies, I've seen her in The Fighter. Why is she not hiring some sort of like lawyer? I know there's got to be some sort of really badass lawyer in the DC universe that could like help Superman. Maybe say, yes, he caused $1 billion of destruction, but he also saved all y'all's asses. All y'all would be dead if it wasn't for him. So, I just got a problem with the way they're trying to fight their arguments, and they're not really. The Zack Snyder line of thinking is we gotta fight with our fist, and then we can come to a resolution after that. And so it's like, oh my god. At least for this movie, I don't know if that's accurate for everything, because I felt like Watchmen actually had a little bit more of a political say to it, and it had a little bit more intrigue behind what they were saying. Let me see. Superman's looking for, I think, the one lady from Africa. And is told Batman is hunting and is mean. Instantly, he's shown at a scene, at a fight, getting the Russian guy's phone. This Russian guy gets entirely way too much time. I think they could have just cut this guy out. He's part of like the framing the Superman thing, but it's just like ultimately by the third act, none of that matters. So this is where we have the next scene: Holly Hunter, Jesse Eisenberg talking about gods falling or devils falling from the sky and other crazy psychedelic shit that Jesse Eisenberg's just trying to run by her. I wish he would just say, let's just control the Superman, or, what if he decides to go bad or something like that. Let's just have some sort of actual talk instead of talking in these like hypothetical, metaphysical, like what ifs. So this is where Holly Hunter's like, you can grab a jar of grandma's peach tea and call it piss all day, and I won't take a budge, or something like that. It is the dumbest fucking line I've ever heard, but it ends up coming around later, and Luthor really gets her with that one. I don't know. Let me see. Batman has a nightmare, one of like two nightmares in this movie. Visiting his mother's grave, big cockroach thing pops up. Justice League kind of covers that later. Jeremy Irons is the best part in this, clearly. The Easter eggs about the Joker probably killing Robin. I haven't listened or watched, or I am in the dark about what has happened in the DC universe according to this. But I think that the Joker may have killed Robin in this universe, or Robin may have become the Joker, or of some sort of craziness. I'll let somebody in the comments section write a story about this so that I don't have to cover it. Let one of the real the real masterminds of this, the knowledgeable ones, take on that. But yeah, so we get a little bat butt in the shower recording studio. His shower looks like a recording studio. Did anyone think that? Let's see what else we got. Gal Gadot appears in this next scene when they're going to the Lex Luthor party. I like how Superman can hear everything Alfred and Bruce are talking about. This is when we're trying to get the information, basically, of the other Justice League members, that somehow Jesse Eisenberg has already the icons to everybody, which some of them may have already been established. Like Wonder Woman kind of already has had her icon established, so that makes sense why it would be on the hard drive. But like the Flash definitely didn't, Aquaman no, and all the other icons probably would not have been established that are on the computer when he opens the hard drive eventually. So this first intro is very awkward for them. They give Superman, some awkward stuff to go off of with talking, with Batman, and then Gal Gadot's around the corner, and Jesse Eisenberg's Lex Luthor is just, it's just like, bobbling around. It's just like too much. Yeah, so I think this is about an hour into the movie, and we still have not gotten really any full confrontation, except we've seen a lot of. It's kind of a slow burn for the first hour ish, kind of. It's slow burn ish. It's like when there's not action happening, I would consider it somewhat a slow burn, mostly because of the dryness. It's very dry. Excuse me. They give Superman full-on white savior. This is with a montage of Superman saving a lot of people. I think he's saving some. Looks like he's in like a Day of the Dead situation in Mexico, and all of those people are kind of surrounding him like white savior-esque. I still think the cinematography looks really good. I just think that it's a little bit over, heavy-handed with the Jesus imagery. They definitely had that, definitely prevalent in Man of Steel. But yeah, so there's a montage of him discussing all his motivations, saving people. PBS has like one of the most intense documentaries of a Superman special coverage that you could have got. I mean, they did get that one guy from CBS that probably Charlie something or another that's probably been accused of something, but I don't know. That special on PBS looked intense. I'm not gonna lie, and Clark Kent's like looking at it like, oh, like damn, that's a pretty good. Looking at it like it's a Netflix Tiger King special or some crazy shit. But oh shit. Hey, it's getting crazy right now. I need to get some new pomade. I'm trying to record stuff, but I gotta have a hat on probably. All right. Diane Lane, her country accent. You know what? Country accents are hard. I kind of take it for granted that some people can do a decent country accent. Lex Luthor talking to Wally. He bails him out of jail. He's like, I want to help you stand for something. And that's a complete lie. We know exactly where that goes. I was wondering at first, did Wally know what was going to happen in the courtroom? And it's my understanding, Amy Adams says he did not. I don't feel like that is discovered in the other, in the original BVS movie. I'm going to try to link a couple articles in the show notes about what the differences are in between the two movies, because I just, you know what, I could regurgitate it, but you've probably heard it if you're going this far. But yeah, I'll give you something to read too. Okay, so puns about this guy being in a wheelchair. Too soon, too soon, bud. Too soon, Luthor. This then the next scene is the prison shanking. I was like, what movie is this? This is intense. This is just jarring in tone sometimes. Amy Adams thinks experimental guns are given to people in Africa. Oh, and that shanking, by the way, was probably because that guy was like branded by Batman. Amy Adams thinks experimental guns are given to people in Africa by the government, which I feel like that goes absolutely nowhere. Did they even? She like confronts one guy about it, some general guy, and he's like, I don't recall. My bad, or something like that. It was just not what. It went nowhere. I guess, except maybe to frame Superman in a way, but even then, that doesn't even make sense. Bruce got his Mr. Creepy on with Wonder Woman. That was kind of uncomfortable. You know, he's talking to her in another one of those parties, or yeah, one of those parties when he's trying to get his hard drive back. He gets the hard drive back, and then has a nightmare about the next movie. And then they flash into like a Mad Max nightmare scenario. It's like a 5 minute apocalyptic Batman movie. It looks really good because they are using real sets. They are using the majority of it looks like they're using real sets, or the cinematography is shot in a way that makes it look real. It doesn't feel like Justice League at all. And my God, this would have been so badass if we just got this movie, the Batman and the Mad Max apocalyptic world. I don't know if this is probably straight from the comics in some way, but I would just say this looks badass. There's even a one take 360 degrees around Batman as he's taking everyone down. It's a pretty good scene. It's shot a little bit slow, so I feel like they probably could have done it one or two more times and like really just enhanced everything going on. But everything is very coherent. I feel like it's one of the better scenes in comparison to like the Nolans. I didn't feel like Nolan ever had anything like to this degree that was this stylish. Like, this is the type of stuff I wanted to see, and I don't think anyone had anything bad to say about these scenarios where Batman's really kicking some ass. And having the slow turnaround with these bugs slowly coming and, you know, taking him down was cool as shit. Only to have Superman unmask him in the next scene and laser eyes. I mean, this is when, as a comic book fan, you're like, you're like straight like losing your shit. Like, gotta change your pants, clean up on all because all this badassness is happening. All this toxic masculinity is being, you know, just it's spewed on the screen. It is fucking insane. Love the action. Think that the majority of it really works, and the portrayals between the two. I just remember seeing the commercials. This is when around the time I stopped watching commercials, because it spoiled so many things in this movie for me that I was like, my lord, this movie would have just been leaps and bounds better, because it looks amazing. And the thing about a movie that looks amazing is the trailer will probably, you know, sell you a little bit more on it too. So yes, we get the heat vision and all. I think I said laser eyes. I'm sorry, I don't have all of the, you know, the Batarang knowledge, all the bat knowledge, all of the Superman knowledge, all of the the crazy stuff that they do. I forget about it. Then the next scene we have what I think is the Flashpoint. Flash telling Bruce that he's right. I guess about some. I think he was talking about Amy Adams and Superman, but I'm not sure. as and he looks a little weird looking. Something about the suit looks more mechanical than I remember. Um, Kind of choppy editing, but I see what they're trying to push. They're trying to push a ton of information in this. Um, and I think this movie definitely works much better as like 3 separate hours if you watched it like that than if you watched it as one conjoined movie. If you think about it as a Zack Snyder mini series featuring Batman and Superman, I think that it works. I think it works a lot better in that thinking. Kind of the same way Watchmen I think that's a 3 hour movie as well. At least the Ultimate Edition is, or the director's cut, whatever it's called. Um, Alfred and Bruce talk about, how many good guys stay that way. Um, how many good guys stay good the entire time, which I guess implies that Robin, either something happened to Robin, maybe he turned into the Joker, maybe the Joker killed him, maybe the Joker was a good guy. I don't know. Um, did Rob? Oh yeah. Did Robin turn into the Joker or something? The Batman action scene is cool. However, it begins to become disillusioned from the background, making it hard to see and more CGI. Um, Superman confronting. I think that's when Superman is fighting the Russian guys at one point, trying to get the kryptonite of some sort. I don't know. Uh, Let me see. Superman confronting Batman at the beginning is just beautiful. It's like this. He just like whoosh, and the Batmobile's like whoosh, and just flies all the way to the next room, to the next state or something like that. But the slow mo of seeing Superman's cape kind of go in the wind is just gorgeous. I mean, there's scenes in this that are GIF worthy that would work in any other film. And I honestly think that Snyder might get a little bit of a bad rap because of just the backlash on it. Honestly, I do think that this looks amazing. It's beautiful. People were expecting something different. I know people don't exactly enjoy the brooding portrayal of these characters. I think it works on some level. I can see where another director would take it in a different light. If this had just a slightly different writing to it, just a little bit better writing to it, maybe even just another hand. If Zack Snyder was like co-directing with somebody, like I think this could be really good. Um, it's a tease that they don't have a showdown right there with Batman and Superman confronting each other, and that's where we get the original, "Do you bleed?" Line, and so that's muttered in the Justice League. Kind of a slight spoiler. Um, but it is a tease. I kind of wish they would have just had a showdown right there. And this is when I realized this would work better. This works better as a miniseries than it does as a movie. Almost because it's just like done. It feels like the next episode is like, oh shit, is going down. If you think about a movie, you're like, man, I didn't want to wait an hour and a half till these people confronted each other. But if you think about like a movie or a show, I mean, generally there's at least an hour before something really big happens. Maybe something at the beginning big happens, but then there's story, and then maybe something in the second episode, maybe something in the third episode. But yeah, this feels much more like a 3 hour miniseries. LexCorp, bullets are to frame Superman. Luthor is strange and wacky, poking at the fact that they have lack security at the Superman get-together at the courthouse. Still, this guy has no personality. I wanted to go into this movie and say, yes, this guy got a bad rap, but no, this is a fucking horrendous the writing is just really bad on. He has no personality except for just being kind of just. It's not even quirky because it's not consistent about what he's doing or what he's saying and or why he's doing anything. Also, Russian guy pushes the African lady in front of the train who is lying about seeing Superman do all this stuff. That feels like a cut scene. I don't remember that happening in the original edition. Also, that goes nowhere. And so, what's Senator June Bug or whatever her name is, Holly Hunter, is getting ready to start the court case or whatever with Superman walking in. Still really like the imagery of seeing Superman in the courtrooms. Just a interesting visual, just seeing this guy all suited up. I'm sure in real life when they were shooting this, he kind of looks ridiculous, but there's still this like sleek look to Superman that looks dope. So, Wally wants to confront him, and we know that Wally did not want to do what Lex Luthor had said that he wanted to do, or he did not plan to blow up the courthouse or wherever the hell they were. They were it was all Lex Luthor's plan. And so this is where the jar of piss comes back up. Granny's peach tea. What do you know? It all comes back around. Whose idea thought that was the big ticking time bomb? Like, everyone in the DC universe that has been waiting for Batman v Superman and Lex Luthor to trick these two to fight each other was like, what's the best method to use? Granny's peach tea, aka jar of piss. I was just like, oh my gosh. I remember the first time I saw that. I think I actually had heard a review about it and people were just outrageously pissed about it. And rewatching it, yeah, it's ridiculous and stupid. But it's just like, why? Why is the biggest problem? Like, you couldn't have come up with something better. I mean, his assistant is sitting next to where Lex Luthor's supposed to be. If you go back and look at it, it's like probably Amy Adams, probably Batman, probably all these characters normally would have been in that scene, but because this had to happen, they weren't there, and so they were at a distance. And so having that come back around, and she's like looking at the jar, and she's like, "Oh my gosh!" and then looking at where Lex Luthor's supposed to be, "Oh my gosh!" She's like looking at the sky. She's like, "Oh my gosh!" It's like, first of all, lady, was your first inclination that Lex Luthor was going to blow up this entire court? Like, that was not foretold at all. I mean, I didn't understand what the thinking was. Like, all right, I don't want to see. Why didn't you say, "All right, where's Luthor"? Just, oh, whoops. Just like explosion. Like, what is going on? You know. So that's the main thing. I'm just like, why was the first inclination that she thought she was going to explode? That was my big thing. I was not ready for that. I knew that there was an explosion from the first time I saw it, but the thing is, it still got me. I mean, it still got me. There several times I jumped in this movie while I was just like watching. I was like, whoa, that was kind of a jump scare. One was the cockroach coming out of the Martha Wayne's nightmare scenario thing when Bruce was thinking about it or dreaming about it. I was like, ugh. Okay, so yeah, I knew there was going to be an explosion. It still got me. Wally did not know that this was going to be planned by Luthor. Let me see. Music is hype for Lex Luthor going into the Kryptonian ship. I think that the music starts hitting on all pretty good. You know, I like saying it hits on all cylinders, but I don't think it actually does the whole movie. But I still like the Hans Zimmer Junkie XL score. Generally works for this. My lord, this guy has nothing to do or say. I feel like Jesse Eisenberg says next to nothing the entire time he's on screen, and when he does talk, it's horrible. It's absolutely horrible. Affleck is getting pretty jacked in this. I mean, you see him working out and, hitting tires and moving shit and, doing pull-ups and whatnot. I was just like, dang, this Affleck is in great shape for this movie. He looks entirely different for Justice League. And granted, there's probably a 2 to 3 year gap between when they shot this, and so it's hard to hold that level of body fat. But I didn't know did y'all know Ben Affleck 6'4"? I had no idea Ben Affleck was 6'4" and looked like that at that point. and Henry Cavill's 6'1". I mean, there's several scenes where the two are together, and I was like, wow, the Affleck got some height. I didn't know, Bruce thick. Okay, so yeah, this is where we find out Luthor is responsible for the icons of the Justice League. Also get a glimpse into the Wonder Woman photo and song. Dun, 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 dun. And they are not shy about that. The ability to bring General Zod back and some sort of doomsday character should have been introduced in the first act. Lex Luthor should have been talking about his plan from the very beginning. A lot of superhero movies have the antagonist, bad guy, something at the very beginning to kind of establish that this guy's been trying to, do this for a while. I feel like the way he's introduced is not like that at all. It's not like you need to let me see Zod to do all this stuff. It just seems like it kind of happens. It's like, he's like, oh yeah, the Kryptonian ship. Let me just, dilly-dally. Let me just hack the ship. It's an alien ship. It's not like it has ones and zeros and codes. I don't understand. He's a billionaire, genius, whatever, crazy ass. But, like, regardless, that's still... It's not like you can just hack into that in like 20 minutes. It seemed like he just whipped this up like it was some sort of meal. Like he whipped up Doomsday like it was a crock pot meal and he was done in like a couple hours. Like this is kind of ridiculous. Among other things that are ridiculous in this. But yeah, that might be where it started jumping the shark. So we have to see like a random African American or black family, whichever you want to go with. We see a black family. I think it's a mother and a daughter watching the news, seeing Superman be hung or hanged. I'll let the comments do that. Correct me on that. But talk about inappropriate. Talk about seriously inappropriate. Why the hell would you ever need to show that? Like the daughter's like looking at the mother like what do you think the expression is? And what do you think in the movie theater the expressions are? Like that people want to hang, that people want Superman dead. I don't know what the thinking was in this at all. It's inappropriate in a way. It's just like, you didn't have to go that far. You didn't have to do that. So I just wanted to touch on that. That there's some racial stuff that is in this low key that is not that great. Yeah, Wally didn't. Amy Adams finds out. Lois Lane finds out. Wally didn't know. Kevin Costner comes back. This is like a dream sequence with Superman and his pops. And it's not great dialogue, to be honest, talking about like saving the farm or something like that. I always thought Kevin Costner was good in concept, but maybe not that great in execution as the father. But my father and I are, kind of going through some stuff right now with some family health stuff. So it did get me. It got me kind of, a little bit emotional. Just talking about, missing his father and stuff like that. Oh wow, MLS unveils official details for return. Hey, that's good news. That's always good news to hear. Both Bruce and Clark have reflective moments of their fathers. How did they locate Martha Clark? How did Lex Luthor locate Martha Clark was my question. I was very confused about how any of that happened. They also locate Lois Lane, and her hair still looks great, even being after thrown in the back of a van or some sort. I was like, my lord. Everything Jesse Eisenberg feels like he's saying feels like improv. This is when he's on top of the building and he's got Lois Lane and he's trying to get the Superman's attention, and it feels like someone told him, all right, Jesse, just play it off. Say something that you think Lex would say and just run with it. Okay. Good. You got it. You got it. And that's what it feels like what's going on. It's like y'all couldn't have come up with slightly better dialogue. Like none of it feels like, it feels all like trailer talk. It feels like stuff that you would put in the trailer. It's like man versus God, man versus machine, the big fight is going to happen. It's like the lines he's saying might sound okay in theory for like a trailer, and they do sort of make sense a little bit in the trailer when they did cut it. But like, my lord, other than that, it does not work in context. Yeah, and Superman needs to have his homing beacon both on his mother and on his girlfriend Lois Lane. This is ridiculous. He can't locate his mother using supersonic hearing or whatever the hell he uses to locate Lois Lane. Inconsistency with his powers. I'll just say that. Unless they did some sort of lead thing, which I think that's what they do with the wheelchair. Can't see it or can't whatever. Almost nothing makes sense for Superman almost nothing makes sense for Superman to fight Batman. Superman has ultrasonic hearing. Why the hell wouldn't he be able to hear all this? Luthor is holding a kitchen timer the entire time and says, "You have an hour to, I guess, save your mother," which that wasn't even established. And he's like, "And now you have less. You had an hour, and now you have less." It's like if you weren't here blabbering on about dumb shit and you would have just said something, he would have gone. And he's like the fastest man ever. So what do you expect? It did not make sense why Superman just didn't take this guy straight into space. I was just like, oh my gosh. So yeah, he should have been able to hear his mother. This is when we have Gal Gadot. It flashes over and she's looking at the email Bruce sent her. Aquaman, Flash, Cyborg spotting. I'd lie if I say I wasn't excited about those, but the presentation, my lord, that is lazy. This is almost like them showing the studio execs, "Hey, this is the concepts we got. Oh, you got the concepts for Cyborg. You got the concept for Flash. Oh, Aquaman. Oh, Wonder Woman. Oh, okay. Well, let's just throw it all in the movie. Let's just have Wonder Woman look at this shit." That's what it felt like. It felt like they're looking at fucking files on a computer. Not organic at all. I will say, I'm not triggered by it or anything like that, but I just remember seeing it the first time. I was like, this is so lazy. But going back, I'll say it's exciting. And it's cool to see him in these crazy scenarios. The Flash is like in a convenience store saving somebody. Aquaman is way underwater. You give it the trident. It's like, get the hell out of here. And then Cyborg, it looks like he's on some sort of slab being tested on with this like big cube thing. Like, a lot of questions going on with that shit. But I guess that's covered in Justice League. Okay, so Batman has the place rigged. Superman is just tossing him. This is the next scene when they actually start going through it. Batman has the place rigged, trying to get the hearing. It's like this place way off in the distance. It's kind of hard to tell exactly where they are. But he's trying to get Superman taken down, tossing him. Superman's just tossing him and just breaks the bat signal and does all this crazy shit, throws him everywhere. Starts to become kind of a Mortal Kombat style fighting in a little, somewhat in the laser, got to use the gun. You got the thing, and got the thing with the thing. you know what I'm saying? They fight. I think Bruce is in such terrible shape in Justice League because of this fight. Again, with the wall smashing. Tons of walls smashed. Bruce keeps using this gas on him, on Superman, and it kind of makes him fall down and cough. Was that from the Joker or Scarecrow? Was that established at all? Where did that come from? And where did this staff come from? Was that established that Jeremy Irons was making that staff? I fell asleep or something like that. This is a long ass movie. Martha. Okay. All right. Basically, Batman turns into the antagonist for the 5 minutes, takes down Superman pretty well, uses the staff, and I guess that is like kryptonite that is being shot at Superman, making him fall down. He's got his foot on Superman's neck, which is too soon, by the way. R.I.P. George Floyd. And the fact is, Superman can't breathe, but is able to mutter the words, "Save Martha." Now, Batman is sitting there with a staff, getting ready to stab him through the head or something like that. I don't know, just see trying to cut him open, cutting his face, and he's like, he's about to find out if he bleeds. He's like, Martha, Martha, why did you say that name? And so there is this, like, what? Like, flashback of his family dying, Batman's family dying. It is still stupid, and I can explain why. Them having mothers of the same name means absolutely nothing to what the problem is. Did anyone in the $300 million budget explain this to any of the writers? I don't understand. With the regular version or the Ultimate Edition, 30 extra minutes still makes this shit stupid. It doesn't matter that they have mothers of the same name. Like, he should have just said Lex Luthor has his family and they're holding them hostage. And Batman in the next scene is able to take them all out. Is able to take the entire Russian crew out and save Martha. Like, what is going on? Oh my gosh, it's ridiculous. It makes it so laughable. So, Batman fighting these goons at the end is pretty cool. It's pretty cool to watch, but it lasts a long time. Why did Lex Luthor think that Batman wanted to kill Superman even in the first place? That I understand that it wasn't established that Lex Luthor knew that Batman knew that he was anti-Superman. It felt way more that Lex Luthor was intertwined with the government and why they didn't want to deal with Superman mothers than Batman. I don't know. It just feels like they're in different movies until the very end. And one thing I did hear Chris Stuckman say is it feels like there's a political thriller for the first hour and a half of this, and then like the 2-hour mark hits or something like that, and it just turns into a CGI slug fest. And I don't have a big problem with that, but it can be problematic, in some sort, in some sense. Okay, Doomsday appears to have been cut out entirely. I don't know what I'm talking about. It's unclear. Oh, sorry. Doomsday, he's made from General Zod's body and just happens way too quickly. It's unclear how strong this thing is or what even the power strength is. It doesn't really look all that great in my opinion, just CGI slop. Kind of a combination of the Hulk and tiny King Kong. Doomsday can cause some sort of EMP effect, I believe. It's hard to kind of tell. Like I said, we don't really know what this is. I wish that Bruce and Clark would have had some sort of communication while they're taking out these things. Batman saving Clark's mother and Clark is fighting Doomsday. It's kind of a mix mash thing kind of going on. Clark losing his wait, what? I wish that Clark okay, so yeah, the Doomsday character has no power bearing on it. It's hard to tell how you destroy this thing. So Clark takes it directly to space. They get a nuke from down below sent to it. Clark gets exploded, and then has to heal himself from the sun, which is a very cool visual. And they're always trying to... I think Snyder did a good job with kind of using some of these details of what the comic book universe would use, but then again was saying that it's just too long. It just there's too much they're trying to pack into that. So he heals from the sun. Wonder Woman shows up. The fighting is pretty crazy. I like how they establish how Batman is not nearly as strong as Wonder Woman and Superman, and they're kind of going. They're having the three whoosh, whoosh, way fight, and Batman is just watching from the side until he figures out how he can join in. This feels much more of a natural Justice League movie. Why wasn't this called Justice League or Dawn of Justice or something like that? I just feel like that this was the movie Justice. The last hour of this does feel much more like a Justice League movie. Wonder Woman feels like she's having such a good time. She's getting slung, far into the distance, and she's still got a smile on her face when she's getting back up. She's Gal Gadot is definitely one of the highlights of this film, and I can see why she got praised. And it's no wonder why she got her own movie. At the very end, we have Superman take the trident, and after Lois Lane and him are struggling in the water and stuff like that, she's kind of a damsel in distress. Unfortunately, she doesn't really get much to do except for kind of, here, help me, or do this. She's a better character than what she's written for. I feel like we could have done something else with her, but it's whatever. But Superman, yeah, he sacrifices himself to destroy Doomsday. Again, this character that we've only known for like 10 minutes destroys one of the characters we knew for the past 2 movies. Like, that sucks. And seeing Superman dead, yeah, it does suck. I know what's going to happen in Justice League, and I know what's going to happen in further movies down the road, but it still is a very grim ending to kind of a solemn movie overall. What the fuck did we see at the end? What is... it looks like they tried to create Steppenwolf at the very end of this, which is a character that becomes prominent in Justice League, at with the cubes and whatnot. But that completely is untalked. No one talks about it. Just a big 10-foot CGI monster just out like that. Bye. And why is Eisenberg, Lex Luthor, look like he's soaking in beans? He looks like he's in beans. I don't know why. This is a long funeral for Superman. I feel like this funeral scene takes like 10 minutes. It is a long freaking thing. Let me see. Slow-mo bullets at the end again. This prominent in what's it called? Justice League. Trying to have a noble speech after all of this. Lex Luthor is saying a whole bunch of nothing. Let me see. Lex Luthor is just blabbering about a whole bunch of nothing. And Batman says that he's being transferred to Arkham Asylum. The last shot of the movie is the dirt rising. Why even have such a long funeral if we know that Superman's going to come back at the end of this movie? Like, that is a very long, extended scene to have this character only to be, but wait, he could be coming back. It's like, of course he's coming back. It's Superman Returns. So, overall, the movie is not as bad as I remember. A little bit CGI heavy in more places than I remember, but not nearly as bad as Justice League when it comes to the CGI. Action does overstay its welcome. People don't seem to be having as much fun as I remember on the cast, with the exception of Irons and Godot. I love the music. Decent cinematography, better fighting than Justice League, better choreography than Justice League. The Ultimate Edition works probably as a solid 7 out of 10, and I would recommend it to comic book fans, and maybe not the average just like action hero guy. Action, if you like action, it's like, it doesn't necessarily mean you can like this, but if you like comic books and if you like decent interpretations, I think that this version actually works. So thank you for listening, watching Look It Up Podcast. Check out all the other Look It Up podcasts you can on SoundCloud. If you want this podcast early, you can subscribe on LuckyDog Podcast on YouTube. Links are in the description. I think I'm going to post an article or something I can find that posts the differences between the 2 movies. Didn't really have time for that because we're over an hour now. So, but yeah, I enjoyed the Ultimate Edition, about 7 out of 10. Check out all the links below. PayPal.me/TheLookItAllPodcast for all donation links and social links, all of them down below. Thank you. And if you are liking the DC Extended Universe coverage, continue. Check out the show notes, subscribe, thumbs up, follow along, 5 stars. You know what to do. Take it easy.